several countries, and Mark actually believes his might be one of them, have underestimated their total population of their country. And the most prominent is India. So much so that this particular study and this article, excuse me, which I haven't read yet, so we're going to actually look for it here on something that is news today. Today or yesterday, one of the 2 days, Grok put out the newest version of their AI. And we're going to talk about that just a little bit. But anyway, this particular article said that it's entirely possible that the country of India in total has greatly underestimated its population, and that it is probably closer to 3 billion rather than the 1.4 billion that is reported. And so that would mean that it is almost twice as big. What's more significant on a worldwide basis is it really affects statements that have been made that if the world population were to hit 10 billion, we would run out of food. We wouldn't have food. Well, what if the world population is already way over 10 billion? The reported world population is 8.4 billion. What if these reports about India are right, and instead there are another billion people in the world? So now we are over 9 billion, and yet food levels haven't changed. So it's just an interesting sort of thing. I got to show you something real quick. This is a way to deal with swelling. That is frozen corn. It's on my wrist because I look at the difference between these two hands. One, I wear a watch over here. Usually I took it off, but I don't know if you can tell. The left one, which is here, look at the swelling. I got bit right about there by either a wasp or a hornet last night. And I know when it happened, and it's just puffed up, incredibly swollen. So as I got back today, I put, Doug's raised his hand now, Mark, so we can unmute him again if he's not already. You actually can unmute yourself, Doug.
Yeah, Doug. Yeah.
That hand is very, hey, how you doing, man? Now we hear
Good,
you.
good. Hey, hello. Yes, sir.
How is your summer going?
Going fantastic. Been great. Yeah, very enjoyable and getting a lot done, having lots of fun and having some really interesting people with us down and off throughout the summer. And fishing's been good. Salmon are coming.
Any family there?
No, not yet. They'll be coming. Margie's mother passed away Sunday, so she went back down to Minnesota. And then her and Abby and Micah and Micah's wife will be coming up Wednesday
Oh, wow.
next week.
Cool. So there was,
So, yeah.
so do you remember, and did you know that Deb and I did a Alaskan cruise
Yeah,
2
you're,
weeks ago? So
yeah. Where all did you go? Where was that? I remember you mentioned that.
went from Seattle, and our first stop after being in the Inland Passage for a day and a half or so was in Ketchikan. And then our second stop was in Juneau. And our third stop was in Skagway. And then we turned back around, and our last stop was in Victoria, Canada.
Nice.
So it was very enjoyable. And I've never done a cruise.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's a lot of beautiful country there. Wow.
Yeah, it was. And and it was late, and I went at Ketchikan and went and watched them snagging for salmon at low tide. What a I'm going to use a, a strong word. What a bogus, and the word I was going to use, kind of bastardized form of fishing that is. Although I guess it's really, because the reality is there were about 40 people lining the whatever the creek was. I think it was called Herring Creek. And they were just throwing in these massive, you know, saltwater, what would it, double-aught size hooks, treble hooks. And most of them were sight fishing, so they were just casting at a fish they would see. Others were just going into deeper water where they wouldn't see anything. I didn't see a fish caught in an hour or a fish snagged, not one. Do they do snagging up in your area? So, I mean, that was
Well,
obviously allowed by Alaska law.
okay, was it by sockeye salmon?
I have no idea. They didn't catch any. And
Well,
honestly, the people I talked to were, they were a little annoyed that the tourists were there. I mean, I was there because there was a group of about 20 of us that came from the cruise ship, and we were all sort of in the tidal. I was the only one that walked out to the river. Everybody
yeah.
else was back on the tidal flats. I mean, it was low tide, and the
Mhm.
tide there is 15, 16 feet. So it was quite a ways down. So the one guy I talked to, he honestly, I don't think he knew what kind. He just, oh, I'm fishing for salmon. There's
Are
salmon.
those, yeah, are those natives? Were those native?
No, no, this guy
Okay.
was not a
I,
native.
uh, I don't know whether you can, there's no place you can, a non-native can legally snag. And so, yeah, you're not allowed to use, at least where we're at, and any place I know of, you can use just a treble hook and try and snag fish. On the Kenai and out here, you can catch sockeye with a flossing, but that's not snagging. You can't legally snag her, they'll find you. If you're jerking it through, they'll find you for snagging. So I'm not sure what they were doing there, unless yeah, not sure. If it's a hatchery commercialized river, which there are a few places that happens, then they can take them with any means because they're going to die anyhow. And
Well,
they
I
were,
think this was, Doug. They were
okay,
absolutely, there were fish and game guys there. I mean, literally on the other side of the river, one
okay,
one of the,
yeah.
somebody pointed out that what's that person with a uniform over there? Why is he over there?
Yeah.
And I
So that
and
must be, they have some terminal fisheries that they just released for commercial use coming back, and anything left that comes up that creek is all considered take them at any means.
okay.
But your normal runs, like ours here in Alaska, which we're going to have a large one here up in Bristol Bay and into our lake, you can't snag. It's not legal.
Uh, yeah, it kind of did surprise me, but I'm pretty sure this was probably a hatchery up there because if I remember right, I think they even said we could have done a tour and went to a hatchery. So
Oh yeah, sure.
yeah,
Yeah, our salmon are just starting to come into the lake now here. We got 100 and some thousand salmon in the lake so far.
wow.
Mhm.
Anybody who has questions, comments, throw them in to the chat and also just like we did for Doug here, if you want to be unmuted, we could certainly do that. Joel, we're actually, hopefully Reeb has reached out to you because we're trying to schedule a webinar with you sometime in the future. And so if you want to be unmuted here, you can talk today. So Doug, how about did Winter, you'd been back before, and I think you already had seen that Winter was pretty kind to you up there, but any
Yeah,
surprise
pretty mild.
any surprises when you got there, that things you had to fix that you didn't have?
No, it was pretty mild winter. We didn't have any bear problems here. And the lake was real slow at coming up, but we're up to normal levels and everything now. And so it was a good spring, yeah. Pike fishing has been great. Grayling's been just over the top, really good in places. Lake trout's been okay. And the weather was a real cold May and June, cold and wet, way lower than normal. And then now we're back to kind of typical weather right now.
So I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. The cruise was mid-June anyway, so it's been, 2 or 3 weeks. We had something happen that made national news. And when we were in Juneau, which by the way, I showed this in the webinar the week after that, what a underwhelming building the capital of the state of Alaska is.
Mhm.
It looks like an old office building. It doesn't.
Yeah,
And I mean, the only highlight of its front area is security. There's
yeah,
no rotunda. I mean, it truly is a converted office building, but it's the original Capitol. It's been there since
yeah,
since 1959 when
yeah.
Alaska was a state.
Yeah.
Well, we were in Juneau. Was really the only wet day we had of the 8 days. I mean, even when we were out at sea, it never rained. And they said that was the driest week because they had a very, very wet June. And like you just said, um, Ronald was just to put a comment. I'll get to that in a little bit here. But anyway, we're in shore, and it looked like it was going to rain. Just to look like a thunderstorm was getting created, and it did. And so we were right downtown Juneau at that point. So we just kind of went in and out of shops and stayed dry. And then we weren't going to do it, but I decided that I'd buy a ticket and go up the tramway that's right there in downtown Juneau to get
Oh, yeah.
up in the airways because it had rained, and I just thought, this is one thing I don't mind paying for. And the at the top, you're almost at Timberline.
Mhm.
And so I just hiked up the trail a ways and I got above Timberline, which was pretty cool. But anyway, bottom line is that had been a little mini tornado that had hit. It broke all 16 lines of our ship's mooring lines. And our ship, when I got up to the top, was out in the bay and coming very close to another one that was moored out in the bay. Every one of those ports that we went to, there were always at least 3 or 4 other cruise ships there. I mean, the
Yeah,
tourist revenue that these places get has got to be their primary revenue, Doug.
yeah, it
From,
is.
I mean, I don't know if you have any of the, any cruises that come into anywhere up near you, Bristol Bay, whatever. But boy, in these places, Skagway, Juneau, and Ketchikan, their primary revenue comes from this tourist activity.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, the captain talked to us the last night of the cruise, actually, about that event, and he said he's never had it happen in 25 years of being a ship's captain, and he goes all over the world with Celebrity Cruise Lines. That he's had some weather event that has broken all of the mooring lines of the ship. And notice I'm avoiding the word ropes because on ships they call them lines rather than ropes. So,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
they're 4 inches in diameter. That's how
Oh, they're
big.
huge.
And there's 16 of them, and it broke our
Wow.
ship away. Well, and nobody was injured. There were no issues because nobody was on the gangplank because the people were coming on and off the ship, and I guess they must have caught it while they were braking or did something to where nobody, because that's what could have happened is that people could have fallen off the gangplank. And it didn't delay us. If I remember right. I think we left right when we were supposed to, because I think we left sometime like 9 o'clock that evening or something. And as you know, it wasn't getting dark. It barely got dark all night long while we were there. So
Mhm. Yeah. Wow, that's pretty strong winds.
yeah. I mean, are we as far were we? I think maybe as when we were at Skagway, which is the farthest north we went. Are we farther north even than you?
No, no, we're still quite a ways north of even Skagway.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, and Juneau is about 1,000 miles from where we're at,
Oh yeah, I know that from
northwest. Yeah. Mhm.
west. Yeah.
But we're farther north too. Yeah, that it's an odd, unique state is oddball shape that arm comes down to Juneau, and
Yeah.
why the capital's in Juneau is kind of surprised too.
Well, you know that there are no roads going to Juneau. You can't get to Juneau by a road.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
There's a train track coming in, and there's an
yeah.
airport, and there's obviously ship transportation in and out boats, but no road going
Mhm.
into Juneau. There are, local roads all around the area, but not a
Sure.
highway coming from inland or up the coast.
Yeah.
Probably the most sort of depressing of the ports, because I'd been there when I was just a teenager or younger and I remembered it differently, was Victoria, Canada. And it was only because it's just a city. I mean, you're
Yeah.
coming pretty typical. There's nothing, even unique at all or old. The Skagway and Ketchikan are old, 1800s vintage, gold rush vintage buildings, such
Hmm.
that have been
Yeah.
restored, obviously. So
Hmm.
that was pretty cool. Um, Ronald, I saw that you put a chat in. Doug, anything else unusual about going up there this summer? Any weather-wise or anything, just in the news or anything?
Well, they had a 7.3 earthquake about 100 miles south of us, but didn't
Oh,
affect anything.
wow.
Mhm.
That's pretty darn close for it not to affect you. Maybe it's because of all the ocean, all the water or something.
Yeah, yeah. They didn't cause much of any damage, I guess, but it was out on the Aleutian chain on Cold Bay.
Okay. Huh. And isn't there a little more broadly, because I heard that there were earthquakes in coastal, over on I guess it'd be the east coast of a lot where we were.
Cook Inlet.
That there was there's been more earthquakes than there is in a normal period.
Yeah, quite a little increase, but no damage as of yet. They had a tsunami warning, but there was no problems with it. Just a good warning. So yeah. Hmm.
Ronald asks, by the way, changing locations in the world. I'd like to share about his projects in Uganda. Yeah, we can
Oh
certainly
yeah.
take you off
Yeah,
you
sure.
and let you talk here, Ronald. Um, and Doug will listen along with us or whatever.
Yeah.
But I wonder if maybe you'd like to speak a little here, but maybe you'd like us to do a full hour-long webinar sometime. Um, so Mark,
On Alaska.
no, well, I know we like you two, Doug. Remember, we didn't
Oh,
do it
oh,
last
I'm
year.
sorry. You talked to somebody else. I'm
Well,
sorry.
no, we ran out of, I was just talking to Mark to see if he wanted to
Oh,
unmute Ronald. But remember last year, if you could think ahead, because you're going to be there still a while this year. Last year you were headed back. So let's
yeah,
try to catch it earlier where you can
sure.
show some stuff. Show,
Yeah,
maybe have a phone, your cell phone or whatever, and out where you could show us a little bit along the coast or pelts that you
sure.
have. Doug's a big time trapper, everybody, and in the past, and has done it all in Midwest and out here a little bit in Idaho. And but anyway, he's got pelts, I know, because he brings them down, and I've seen some from up there. But but even if there's a way you could show us the bay and so on, walk around as we're talking.
Yeah.
We have that
Yeah, we
ability.
can do a live chat with that and show you the construction and we're doing some more logs we've harvested from the lake, salvage logs from the lake and building some neat stuff. Yeah, okay, we can do that.
When you do that, talk about that a little bit. How long do you have to let them dry before you can use them for construction?
If it's if we're using it in the lodge and it's connected in a wall system, we have to let them dry for a good year, and then you got to watch the twist in the tree. But when we're using it like for a log cabin or this large covered wood shed and equipment shed that we're building, those can be just wet and they're standalone and connected, so they aren't gonna twist and be a problem. So we put them up wet and we just pull them out of the lake and let them dry, surface dry, so we can just clean them up and sand them up for a week or so in the sun, and then we put an oil stain on it, and then we actually then process them and put them in place. So
And how abundant are they? And is the reason they're available because of tides? I mean, does
no,
the tide strong
yeah.
enough to get pushed in, into the shore or what?
Yeah, we're inland from the coast about 100 miles. We're on Lake Clark National, in
Oh,
Lake Clark National Park. It's a freshwater lake. And we're about 100 miles from Bristol Bay. And but these logs here, this lake is 55 miles long. And so in the spring, when you got heavy flooding, it didn't happen this year, but when it does have heavy flooding, it will wash out trees out of riverbanks. And so you get kind of an assortment of trees that have been growing next to the riverbank. They might be curved and have burls and different things. And so they get flushed out. And every year they move down the river a little farther. And then I go and I know where they are usually going to congregate. And so, and if no one else has been picking them up, then I think we picked up 18 or 20 different logs. Now, some of these are literally in a C shape, some are in a U shape, some are burls on them, some of them are 60 feet long and 2 feet in diameter. So they're quite a variety, but they get washed out. Some have been in the water for 30 years, some have been in the water for 20 years.
okay.
And so, and if they're in the right conditions, they won't rot. If they sit in the grass with bark on them, they'll rot out in 2 or 3 years. But if they get in the water in the river, they're not going to rot for many, many years. And
Okay.
they get a unique color. I'll show you that time. We got some just
Wow.
beautiful, beautiful
Wow.
logs. Yeah.
Wow.
But it's anyhow, it's fun.
I'm going to, both Joel and Ronald have said that they would maybe make themselves available to talk here in just a second. I got one last update for you on myself and then a question for you. And I'm smiling about this one. I noticed a little sore on the inside corner. I think it's pretty well gone now, right here in the white of my eye to the inside of my iris. Okay, a week or 2 weeks ago, let's say, and it was bloodshot. So I thought, it's not at all normal. I should have that looked at. So I went in, met with my optometrist, and he said, it is fairly normal. You probably bruised it. And I said, well, I don't know, nothing ever hit me. He said, well, no, and bruises in your eyes sometimes come from sneezing. So if you
Oh,
have a really hard sneeze, or maybe at night you happen to just rub your eye with your hand. I mean, he said lots of things. The reality is no big worry. Don't be concerned about it. But he said, I do have some other news for you. And he said, and by the way, I'd seen this guy for a routine appointment, and when I got these glasses in November, so it hasn't even been a year. A lot of times I'll go way longer than a year in between eye appointments. But anyway, I'd seen him 7 or 8 months ago. I don't remember it, but I guess then he said, the next time you come in for a routine appointment, we may look a lot more carefully at cataracts because you have the beginning stages of cataracts. Well, I guess they've become pretty serious now to
Oh,
where he said, I can now recommend you and you can use your insurance to have them removed of cataracts. So next Tuesday, I'm going to go in and it's a 2-hour long appointment and have essentially a cataract surgeon here in the valley that will make an assessment, and then I'll be a candidate, I guess, for cataract surgery. The reason that's a real positive for me is for the first time since I was 5 years old, I'll be able to be looking like I'm looking right now, which for years I wore contacts. When Doug knew me a long time
yeah.
ago, I never wore glasses. I have not wear glasses again until the last 2 or 3 years. And it was really the pandemic, and I did get sick a little bit from the pandemic. And anyway, I then started, it was just a lot easier to wear glasses. But I'm going to be 20 plus 2010, even, he said,
Yeah.
for long range vision by this cataract surgery. So first
Well, it'll make you shoot better.
yeah, well, maybe. Yeah, I hope. You can always shoot better. By the way, we had it when before you left, I believe, oh, I know we did, but my Britneys are now growing up, Doug, and whoa, are they
Oh, yeah.
going to be hunters this fall. So you're going to need to come up to Riggins and do some chucking
Sure.
sometimes.
Yeah.
And have you ever had, and do you remember either from Minnesota or even somebody complaining about it with you here in Idaho, be on your property, or have you had issues in Alaska on small bodies of water with way too many geese? I got
Um, oh, yeah.
ridiculous number of stupid, and I'm calling them that right now, Canadian geese. I mean, that are over summering now. They're not leaving.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
raised, they're young. And I think we have 50 of them now when maybe we
Oh,
should
boy.
have 4 or 5 or something like
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah,
it's
that's a real problem. And they'll just keep increasing unless you have some way of deterring them from wanting to be. Your place is so nice, they don't want to,
yeah,
that's one of the nicest places for them on the river. Green grass growing and
warm
cover.
water in the spring and
Yeah.
even yeah. Well, and
I can help you with that when the season opens.
well, that's you already. We'll definitely make sure that you do. So, and we'll take care of that issue, but without saying more about it right now. Um, anyway, yeah, and right now I was up like I just came back an hour ago, and I just let the dogs run all over and chase them, but they don't go away. I mean, in the winter
Yeah.
where they were wintering, once you let the dogs chase them, they'd fly to the river, and
Yeah.
sit in the slack water on the river. Now they don't even fly to the river. I mean, they'll just
Yeah.
get up, circle, and when the dogs are not, they'll just come back down. I mean, I even had one of my Britneys chase them into the water.
Huh.
And
Yeah.
they just swam away. I was actually afraid they were going to attack the dog, but
Yeah. They get very people friendly and they know they can just run away for a little bit and come right back. And it's a real problem on these golf courses and these subdivisions. I talked to people in Colorado
oh,
and
absolutely. Oh, we had, yeah,
it's
we
just
did
it's
have
really a
problems,
problem.
right?
And those goslings are pretty cute when they're little, but boy, they sure make a mess as they get older. Yeah, and so yeah,
And then
interesting.
one last thing that we're noticing, we've got an aquatic animal that's not a beaver. I think we told you we had beavers last year, and they seem to be gone. We've actually put chicken wire around most of our big trees that I told you that we have these Keelings trees, and they didn't bother anymore. We lost one tree last fall because of the beavers, but they're gone. They seem to be gone now. I think we have muskrats though.
Yeah, muskrats would be real common, but muskrats aren't gonna hurt any of the larger
No,
trees like
but are they
beaver.
going to hurt our dams?
Yeah, they're gonna burrow in. That's a real problem where the farmers in their stock ponds and retention ponds for irrigation, they will go into the banks, and that's a real problem. If you don't watch that, they'll burrow through and they'll start leaking and wash out your retention. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had that issue in Colorado, and I ended up, dealing with that. I'll
Yeah.
make a positive observation that, again, it maybe doesn't sound so positive, but what we don't have up there is blue herons, which
Oh,
means,
really?
yeah,
Hmm.
we're not having, loss of little fish in our pond. Um, what a great broad, I don't know where they're all nesting, but population of bald eagles that we do have up there though. It's
Yeah. Oh,
beautiful.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's pretty neat. Yeah. The my daughter had a blue heron in on the west side of Nampa in the alfalfa field, and the blue heron was catching mice and eating mice
wow.
in the
Wow.
in the alfalfa field.
Wow.
Yeah.
How
Anyhow.
uh how is last question, and then I'm going to switch and see if Joel and
Okay.
or Ronald want to talk. Um, how's the videography, photography business going for your sons this summer?
Oh, they're just swamp busy. Yeah, they're doing very, very well. Yeah. All over. Yeah. And yeah, they're on a good run.
That's
Have been
awesome.
for 13 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all kinds of wild, amazing shoots out of airplanes and helicopters and fast cars and boats and yeah,
So guess what's
and
going
living the dream.
on Saturday here in the valley? Now,
Oh,
you wouldn't be interested in it at all, but what kind of an event that's been going on here? Well, since we live, it started while we lived here before. It'll happen Saturday, this Saturday. And it's an area that I care about. So that's why, and it was one of the reasons we were attracted sort of back here. I'll let you guess quickly. If not, or I'll tell you. Do you have any guesses?
well, the jet boat races.
Well, no, those have happened already, and that's up at Riggins. So this is in Boise. It's downtown Boise. It's the Boise Twilight Criterium Bike Race, which is
Oh,
now
wow. Hmm.
top ones in the United States. And when I was when my son, everybody was in his teen or is really before that, and Doug came and what probably I don't remember whether you ever came and watched Dustin race BMX.
Yeah, we watched. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But we did BMX racing when he was really little, and then as he became a teenager, we started mountain bike racing, and then later he became a road racer. And this race, the Boise Tri-Light Criterium, which is Saturday, is a race by professional riders all over the United States. It's one of 8 races in a series around the country. It's
Hmm.
downtown Boise, and they run it right at twilight. And there's like as many as 20,000 people watch it with clickers and little things that like you'd use to train a dog. And while when the cyclists are riding around, they go with the clickers and make a noise.
Ha,
So,
ha, ha, ha. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
and then the Boise Hill Climb is Sunday. So that's
Okay.
also a race that's been going on here.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh.
Anyway,
Yeah. All right. Well, good to talk to you. Yeah.
yeah, good talking to you, Paul, Ron, or Joel. Either one of you, if you want to unmute, go ahead.
Yeah, Ron is
Looks like
unmuted.
Ron.
Ron, you're on. Okay.
Hey, Ron.
Yes. There you go.
Hello, Wayne.
Hello, how are you doing?
I am doing good. This is Ronald from Uganda. Mm.
Well, good to have you. What parts of
Thank you.
Uganda? Where are you at? what part of the country?
I am part of Eastern,
Okay,
around the Victoria, Lake Victoria.
okay. And
Yes,
are you a farmer or are you a urban business person or what do you do for sort of your life there? You're making a living.
throughout my life, I was born in a peasantry farmers community, farmers house. And for us, we grew up knowing majority of people are farmers because by that time there were still few schools. We could go for hunting. You know, we are in the small island around Lake Victoria, and so it has been something like hard to reach place by even government people and several other people. But in the recent years, things have happened in another way around. Well, also we also started ourselves to find best ways on how we can improve our ways in farming, restoring our ecosystem. Yeah, and now we can see that so much is happening today. I also studied extension agriculture and conservation, and this has made me really also to engage in the work which is related to agriculture, farming, ecosystem restoration, and community engagement.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, in the due course, I figured out, of course, something that would really touch several other young people in the country, how they can get that zeal to love agriculture, which is the backbone of our country. We have grown up seeing our parents, the grandparents in agriculture, but in a traditional way, more good enough. They were having quite plenty of land resource when the population has been quite not big as it is growing right now rapidly. And so there is now quite a lot of partitioning, triggering a need for training communities, people, young people who are growing on how they can do smart agriculture, sustainable land management systems in place, ecosystem restoration, to have an eco security in place. And so I designed a tool which I try to sell.
Somebody's,
Can you hear?
yeah, actually somebody else must be, Mark mute. Yeah, okay, that might have been on Doug's end, so he's muted now. Keep going, Ronald. I'm sorry, that was someone else.
It's okay. I designed out a tool that is in a conservation agriculture education and implementing the projects by young people in institutions like secondary schools, more so, and then to tertiary institutions like universities and vocational
And what
institutions.
is it that you're lacking for that to occur? I apologize, I'm moving forward, everybody. This wasp bite or whatever I have here is really starting to just sort of be irritating. So I had to move this frozen thing that I have on it around. What is limiting the no? Do you not have enough teachers to teach, or do you not have enough funds to fund, let's say, different kinds of activities? What are the things that we might be able to help you with, the Institute of Economics and such?
Capacity building to the team, to have a team that we can really do this together with is really inefficient. Uh, personally, I don't have the funds to train several people that we
Yeah.
could move with them to various schools to implement projects. But the little I have engaged with a small team, we have at least successful projects in schools. Some young students are doing fish farming in fish ponds at schools,
Uh-huh.
which they dig by themselves, and then hydroponic farming at school. Young people no longer buy vegetable or sauce at school for feeding. Instead, now they can get some money from the green vegetables they grow at school. Meaning, they pick the projects, trainings that we really implement in schools, and so they replicate at home. In addition to that, we also engage them in plastic and waste management at school to maintain the soil uh, rejuvenation, fertility, and healthy. You know, this
What
is
what is the kind of what is there aquaculture that's currently occurring either in lakes and ponds or not on a commercial basis? Is there any that's done anywhere near you?
actually at the no, at the moment, we within what we have implemented in schools, it is purposely for school project, young people to learn.
Yes.
Uh, of
Nothing,
course,
nothing commercially. There's not any commercial farming.
not yet commercial, not yet commercial, but it would be a very good project if we do it so that the young people can manage and do it on commercial basis in various schools here.
Okay. Um, what do you know enough about the native fish populations? If you had a 1 acre or 1 hectare pond or small lake, what kinds of fish would naturally grow in that there?
We do tilapia
Okay, that's what I
and
wondered.
catfish.
And catfish, okay.
Yes.
Um,
So we had wanted to have another breed, but it is not salmon fish. It is not uh, really present, but we wanted it. If we could have it, that would be okay, but it would need funding because they told us we don't have it and they wanted to import it just, which is not in our plan due to funds. We need to partner with us. We need to support us. We need to work together with us. We need you to own up us and we see how we can move further to another level.
how you said that young people have moved out of the agriculture and into this, I'm assuming into cities and so they're not there. And but now you're seeing at least a movement of where young people would like to stay if they could make a living. Is that right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes, they can make a real living because what we have discovered, many now in these schools, we have about 50 schools that we are having projects, different projects, but we find at least in each school where we implement the projects, they have stopped, the school has stopped buying sauce or green vegetables, and those that are doing fish farming, every weekend they must eat fish, and every Wednesday they eat fish, the whole school population. So it has cut off the expenditure for the sauce for certain days within the school. So we will plan if this can be at commercial, they can be it can be so much enterprising and introduce something into the minds of the young people, which can be replicated out of school into now the communities.
So interestingly, I'm just looking something up. I was So if you saw, I was looking down, you're going to have a meeting there coming up later this summer for the what's called the World Aquaculture Society, of which I'm a member of, and I've been to a number of the international World Aquaculture meetings. But there's going to be what's called World Aquaculture Safari 2025 held in Kampala. And let's see when the date is for this, which means that they obviously are thinking there's enough interest in aquaculture in Uganda to hold this conference. It was in Egypt in 22, Zambia in 23, Tunisia last year. And so they must move it around. Oh, it already happened. I'm sorry. It was June 24th through the 27th. I'll find out about that. I'm probably one of the original members of the World Aquaculture Society from the 70s, which makes me feel old to be. But it's funny that they say the World Aquaculture Safari 25, and it's got a picture of an elephant on the web page. I don't know why they wouldn't put a fish or show a catfish or whatever else instead of an elephant. But there must be some interest. That's a good sign. But I was just trying to check out and see what other kinds of commercial aquaculture go on in Uganda right now.
Sure.
There's a lady that was one of the keynote speakers named Melba Riantasso, and she is improving, and her talk was improving aquatic biosecurity management through a risk. This is a bunch of garbage. Who cares? That's the problem. Listen to this title, everybody. Improving aquatic biosecurity management through a risk-based, collaborative, and progressive approaches, which, by the way, that's just bad English because it should say through risk-based. This says through a risk-based, collaborative, and progressive approaches to safeguard human health, the environment, and national economies in the face of a rapidly changing world. What a terrible title. Somebody just was coming to this website and they looked at that, they'd go, that people of this entity can't even write. So it says the World Aquaculture Society is proud to announce that Dr. Melba Riantasso, PhD, former FAO team leader, Fisheries and Aquaculture Division, will be serving as the plenary speaker, which means the major speaker at the conference, blah, blah, blah. Well, this is at least better written. See if she did what she talked about. Anyway, would you be willing to come on and be a guest with us for a whole hour so we can just concentrate on talking about Uganda, and we'll get a chance to research it in advance, and you and I can just sort of chat for an hour or so. Would you be willing to do that down the road?
Yes, I am extremely much willing.
Oh, well, we'll figure that out, and we're coming at the top of the hour here, so we try to be very good to our guests and our listeners, and end this in an hour. There's a bunch of organizations that I'll maybe talk about. So that's saying like Victoria Treasures Limited, Macquarie University. These are ones that look like they're sponsors locally. The National Agricultural Research Organization must be based in Uganda or around there.
Yes.
NEPAD, African Union Development Agency. AABLN, the Africa Aquaculture Business Leaders Network. Anyway, maybe we'll talk about some of these and see how we might be able to partner and help you do some things. Here's one called the Lake Victoria Fisheries Organization, LVFO. Anyway, lots of info here. Since this just happened, 3 weeks ago, I would guess that we'll be able to see some of the papers that were given and everything in weeks in the future, and we'll be able to talk about some of what's going on. And Mark and I can learn more about it too.
Yes,
Well,
I do have an announcement before we leave
go
because
ahead.
yeah, next week we have two webinars coming up. So next week there'll be on Wednesday there's going to be Meet Our Ohio Team webinar. So there'll be two of the team members that we are going to interview or talk with. And then on Thursday, it's going to be talk with Wayne as usual at 3. And the other one is on Wednesday. So that'll be Meet Our Team from Ohio.
All right. Thank you, Mark. And both Doug and we'll get something scheduled with Doug, and we'll get something scheduled with Joel, and we'll get something scheduled here with Harold. That'll be cool. So, any other questions or comments before we call it a day? Just a second, I got to get my cursor back and open this up to me again. Let me just see if there's any other questions right at the end. Mark gave the link, everybody, as to how to get to the webinar next week.
Right. People, you do need to register separately for that webinar because it's a different webinar.
Okay. Robert was on. Hey, Robert, how you doing, man? Robert's one of our regulars, along with Alicia, Robert Hayes. And so, hi, Robert. He's still out there in the audience. And he actually put some thoughts in about some other Kenyan aquaculture related topics. So if you guys look in the chat, which when Mark posts this webinar on our website, it'll and Ronald, you should make sure you've joined our Eat community for free if you haven't. Make sure to look at that because it'll be the replay of this will be up there. Well, anyway, everybody, thank you. Have a good rest of your week,